Hello students, I am Bani, your English facilitator at Learn Forward by Fly High, and today we'll be discussing the chapter on being Sarah. So let us start. This story is about a young girl who suffered from cerebral palsy, a medical condition usually caused by brain damage before or at birth that causes the loss of control of movement in the arms and legs. Here, the authoress focuses on the girl's physical challenges and shows that when the people around her are helpful and sensitive, her difficulties do not restrict her. Let's read the story. जो प्रोटैगनिस्ट है स्टोरी की उसका नेम है सारा एंड शी इज अ गर्ल हु इज फेसिंग अ प्रॉब्लम नोन एज सेरिब्रल पैल्सी. अब ये एक टाइप ऑफ पैरालिसिस होता है जिसमें आप मूवमेंट नहीं कर पाते, आपके हाथ भी रिस्ट्रिक्टेड होते हैं, आपके पैर भी रिस्ट्रिक्टेड होते हैं, आप व्हील चेयर पे होते हो. एंड ये तब होता है एट द टाइम ऑफ बर्थ और आफ्टर बर्थ कि ये प्रॉब्लम होती है जिसके अंदर आपका जो ब्रेन है वो रिसीव नहीं कर पाता, काफ़ी ना आपकी जो मूवमेंट है उसको रिसीव नहीं कर पाता, जिसके चक्कर में आपकी मूवमेंट हो नहीं पाती फिजिकली. सो लेट अस स्टार्ट द चैप्टर. Sarah was a young girl who suffered from cerebral palsy, a medical condition in which the limbs and muscles are affected due to damage caused to the brain. अब ब्रेन में डैमेज होता है तो ब्रेन के डैमेज की वजह से वो सारी मसल्स को प्रॉपर कोऑर्डिनेट नहीं कर पाता एंड प्रॉपर उनको स्टिम्युलस नहीं पहुंचा पाता. एंड जब वो स्टिम्युलस नहीं पहुंचता ब्रेन को, सो ब्रेन मतलब कंडीशन नहीं कर पाता और सारी मसल्स को और आपकी बॉडी पार्ट्स को प्रॉपरली मूव करने के लिए. सो क्या था सेरिब्रल पैल्सी? शी वाज अ स्पेशली एबल्ड चाइल्ड. Now, a medical condition which confined matlab restricted her to a wheelchair and hindered her ability to communicate verbally. Hindered matlab रोक देना उसकी एबिलिटी को. वो मतलब वो बोल भी नहीं सकती थी. She did not even had the ability to speak. At 12, she often reminisced about how it had been when she was younger. So वो याद करती थी कि कैसे जब वो छोटी होती थी तो उसकी लाइफ कैसी होती थी. Whenever she tried to talk, only sounds like ah used to come out because she could not speak. वो अपनी तरफ से अंदर से सारे वर्ड्स बोल रही होती थी लाइक अ नॉर्मल पर्सन. शी कुड हेयर बट शी कुड नॉट स्पीक, क्योंकि जो भी जब भी वो ट्राई करती थी कुछ बोलने का तो उसके मुंह से ऐसे करके वाले वर्ड्स ही निकलते थे. These sounds had meant nothing to others. We would not be able to understand words like these, but so these words were useless for us. बट फॉर हर दे हैड बीन द इनन्यूमरेबल क्वेश्चंस. इनन्यूमरेबल का मतलब होता है अनकाउंटेबल. अनकाउंटेबल questions that she kept asking herself but couldn't give them the form of words to be able to receive an answer. So she kept asking questions and जो भी वो बोलती थी वो इन वर्ड्स की तरह निकलता था बाहर. तो जब वो इन वर्ड्स की तरह बाहर निकलता था तो जो लोग होते थे उसके आसपास they could not be able to understand कि क्या बोलना चाह रही है वो, बट उसको कभी आंसर ही नहीं मिल पाता था उसकी बातों का. देयर हैड ऑलवेज बीन सो मच शी वांटेड टू कम्युनिकेट बट लाइक इन अ बॉटल नेक. उससे उसे उसका इतना मन होता था कि वो बात कर पाए, वो अपनी फीलिंग्स एक्सप्रेस कर पाए, अपनी बातों को बता पाए. इतनी बातें होती थी उसके पास. बट जैसे अगर आप एक बॉटल है तो उसकी जो नेक होती है वो बहुत पतली होती है ना, तो अगर कोई चीज डालोगे तो उसके अंदर फंस जाएगी ना. ऐसे ही उसके नेक तक वो वर्ड्स फंसे रह जाते थे एंड उसके मुंह पे नहीं आ पाते थे बिकॉज शी डिड नॉट नो हाउ टू वर्बली कम्युनिकेट विद अदर्स बिकॉज ऑफ हर सेरिब्रल पैल्सी. bottleneck, the words remained stuck in her brain due to the lack of an outlet. Lack of an outlet का मतलब है क्योंकि वो बाहर नहीं ला पाती थी अपनी words को. Tirelessly she would try to say a word but would tremble inside when she heard only the sound and no words at all. From her side, she was always communicating. She was always saying out those words loud. But the only problem is that जब वो बोलती थी ना and उसके words सिर्फ ऐसे words निकलते थे and कोई word नहीं निकल पाता था. So she used to tremble. वो कांप जाती थी अंदर से कि ये हो क्या रहा है? Why am I not able to speak like a normal person? Like all those normal people around me like they do. Tirelessly, she would try to say a word but would tremble inside when she heard only the sound and no words at all. She had felt like a spectator. Spectator मतलब जो सिर्फ दुनिया को देखने के लिए, सिर्फ दुनिया को आजमाने के लिए एंड सिर्फ दुनिया को लाइक जज करने के लिए आया है, बट उसका अपना कोई पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू नहीं है. तो शी फेल्ट लाइक अ स्पेक्टेटर हु कुड ओनली वॉच द वर्ल्ड अराउंड हर but never be a part of it. She never felt like she was a part of that world because she could not communicate with anybody, not even her own family. She could not walk, she could not move her hands, and she did not even have any kind of control over her own body. So how helpless this child felt at that moment. um, no one, perhaps not even her parents, expected her to lead a normal life. So उसके पेरेंट्स ने भी एक्सपेक्टेशंस नहीं रखी हुई थी, बिकॉज उसके पेरेंट्स को भी कितना कितना उनके लिए भी डिसहार्टनिंग होता होगा. दे नेवर थॉट दैट देयर चाइल्ड वुड एवर बी एबल टू लिव अ नॉर्मल लाइफ. Expected her to lead a normal life. Disheartened, she would sometimes hide her face in the crook of her arm. इतनी दुखी हो जाती थी that she used to hide her face like this, कि because she was so embarrassed and she was so disheartened and sad and melancholic, क्योंकि वो कभी भी किसी से communicate नहीं कर पाती थी. And sob silently, sob ऐसे करके रोती रहती थी हल्के हल्के. Sob मतलब रोना. But at no cost she would ever stop trying to speak. She was determined. Although she could not speak because of her physical conditions, but it was not like she never tried to speak. She always tried to speak. वो इतनी determined थी कि उसका मन होता था कि वो बोले and वो communicate करे. It was just a physical condition that hindered her from speaking, but she always wanted to speak from her own side. Now, Mrs. Brady would come to Sarah's house twice a week to give her some exercise. तो मिसेस ब्रेडी उनकी कोई डॉक्टर थी या क्या था, बट वो 2 बार आती थी वीक में सारा को कुछ एक्सरसाइज बताने, ताकि एक्सरसाइज करके उसकी बॉडी में थोड़ी मूवमेंट आ जाए. During this time, she often mentioned the other children she worked with. So सारा जो मिसेस ब्रेडी थी ना, मिसेस ब्रेडी हमेशा सारा को बताती थी कि मैं और तेरी तरह की बच्चों की तरह तेरी तरह की बच्चों से मिलती हूँ. एंड तो जो सारा थी, शी नेवर बिलीव्ड कि ऐसे बच्चे एग्जिस्ट करते हैं मेरी तरह, कि कोई मेरे अलावा भी कोई ऐसा बच्चा होगा जिसकी किस्मत, जिसका फेट इतना खराब होगा. She had never actually believed that there were many who suffered the same fate as hers. Once Sarah started school, a new world opened for her. Now, before this, Sarah had nothing to do. She used to sit at home all day long. But once she started with a school, a new world of opportunities opened for her. She had the will to learn, and अब उसको वो right direction मिल पा रही थी स्कूल की वजह से. She was introduced to symbols. So ऐसे बच्चों के लिए क्या होता है? There are symbols, there are special symbols that indicate कि इन बच्चों के लिए मतलब वो words होते हैं basically, which became her tool of communication. It was like seeing the sun after walking through a long dark tunnel. ऐसे लगता था उसको जैसे वो एक अंधेरे से टनल में घूम रही थी अभी तक, एंड उसके बाद उसको रोशनी दिखी. Just like her teacher said, symbols do what talking does. So symbols are the way of communication for a physically abled or a physically challenged person. Sarah could now express her thoughts, feelings, ask questions, and get the answers with the help of these symbols. Now she was able to communicate with the help of these symbols. Although Sarah was aware that she would never be able to eliminate the existence of a wheelchair, now she knew that she would never be able to live without being in the wheelchair. She would never be able to walk or run or stand. But still, she could now use symbols to communicate with others. That was a big achievement for her. Learning symbols gave a new meaning to her life, and it gave a very important meaning to her life. She was stimulated with a sense of purpose. अब उसकी बॉडी के अंदर ना एक मतलब उसके अंदर ऐसे लग रहा था जैसे एक स्टिमुलाई आ रहा है, दैट स्टिमुलेटेड मतलब encouraged with the sense of purpose, and even began to feel normal learning. And अब उसको एक physically able child वाली feeling नहीं आती थी. She was starting to feel normal. She was starting to feel at ease like other children do, learning and growing the way other children did. Someday even Sarah Bennett was going to be somebody. This is a very important line. So Sarah Bennett नाम था उस लड़की का, and someday she was going to be somebody. So she was going to be a person of her own. She actually wanted to be a person, an individual person जिसकी खुद की कोई existence हो, rather than एक wheelchair में पड़े हुए एक नम इंसान की जगह. Sarah's teacher made a symbol board for her to use at school. It had close to 300 symbols. कितने थे? सारा की टीचर ने एक सिंबल बोर्ड बना दिया उसके लिए स्कूल में, एंड उसके अंदर 300 सिंबल थे. सारा पर्सनली चोज द सिंबल फ्रॉम अ सेट ऑफ प्रिंटेड सिंबल स्टैम्प्स. तो कुछ सिंबल स्टैम्प्स थे, उसमें से वो ज्यादातर वर्ड्स यूज करती थी. द सिंबल्स वर अरेंज्ड इन डिफरेंट कैटेगरीज टू मेक देम इजियर टू यूज. अलग अलग कैटेगरीज में सिंबल्स अरेंज थे, जैसे एनिमल्स, अल्फाबेट्स, पीपल, फैमिली मेंबर्स, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स, फूड, ऐसे करके सारी कैटेगरीज अलग अलग थी. पीपल एंड थिंग्स वर इन वन ग्रुप एंड दे वर कलर्ड येलो. येलो में क्या थे? पीपल एंड थिंग्स. Symbols for all action words or the B words were given in green, and those that express feelings were placed together in blue. One row was left empty for future use. कि आगे के लिए कुछ भी, आगे कोई भी काम आएगा उसका, तो उसके लिए एक रो को empty छोड़ रखा था. Sarah's mother had made a similar board in her kitchen so that she could practice together, and so that Sarah's mother could communicate with Sarah at home. She made a similar board in her kitchen so that they could work together in the kitchen and they could talk and they could communicate. She had printed the word for each symbol so that people who didn't know the symbols could understand. और उसने सारे symbols, सारा की मम्मी ने सारे symbols को print कर रखा था, ताकि जो लोग नहीं समझ पाते ना symbols को, उसकी सारा की language को, वो symbols को पढ़े वो बोर्ड से एंड सारा से बात कर पाए. नाउ शी आल्सो स्टक द पिक्चर्स ऑफ हर फैमिली मेंबर्स अलोंग विद देयर नेम्स. अब सब जितने भी फैमिली मेंबर्स थे ना, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल जैसे ये पापा की, मम्मी की, बहन की, भाई की, व्हाटएवर, उनकी पिक्चर्स और उनके नेम्स ऐसे करके उनके नेम्स लिख दिए. The title of the board read My name is, and ऊपर ना वो था My name is, ऐसे symbols में था My name is Sarah Bennett. I communicate with bliss symbols. Bliss symbols होता है, bliss symbols या bliss symbols होता है जो symbols use होते हैं for specially able children to communicate with other people. Some of the symbols Sarah's mother had put up were still there. Sarah's new board was full of smaller symbols, छोटे-छोटे symbols थे, as there were so many. But she did not find it challenging to learn them. So Sarah ना इतनी ज़्यादा intelligent बच्ची थी कि उसको ये वाले symbols को learn करने में बहुत time नहीं लगा and difficulty नहीं हुई. After all, she had said to herself, I can see. So Sarah ने अपने आप को ये बोला था, I cannot speak, I cannot walk, I cannot run, but at least I can see, I can hear. So वो जो उसकी विजुअल पार्ट थी ना, उसको यूज कर रही थी टू learn those symbols. So just above the symbols, the letters of the alphabet were tidily written in a row. In the upper corner of the board was a big symbol for no and yes. No के लिए symbol था, ये no का symbol है, and yes का symbol था, ये yes का symbol था. ये सिंबल उसको सबसे इजी एंड बेस्ट लगते थे, बिकॉज नो एंड येस आर द मेन क्वेश्चंस दैट somebody replies to the most. So Sarah wanted her mother to repeatedly narrate to her what had happened when she was baby. So now Sarah wanted to know that what caused this cerebral palsy to her, and what was the thing that caused her failure, her nervous system's failure. सो वो कहती थी बार बार अपनी मम्मी को, क्या मेरे को बताओ मम्मी कि हुआ क्या था जब मैं छोटी थी कि मुझे ये प्रॉब्लम हुई. तो शी कुड नॉट स्पीक लाइक अस, लाइक नॉर्मल पीपल. सो वो ऐसे सिंबल्स में पूछती थी, ऐसे सिंबल्स में कम्युनिकेट करके अपनी मम्मी से सिंबल्स में पूछती थी, क्या मुझे बताओ कि क्या हुआ था. टेल हर द स्टोरी ऑफ व्हाई शी कुडंट वॉक और टॉक. Talking about it helped Sarah accept the reality, and when her mother told about what had happened to her, it would help her to accept the reality कि हाँ ठीक है, it was her fate जिसकी वजह से वो आज यहाँ पर है, इस पॉइंट पर है. Sarah's mother would patiently explain that either at the time of birth or before it, that की birth जब उसकी वो पैदा होने वाली थी या फिर birth से पहले, a part of Sarah's brain may have been injured. उसके brain का एक part injure हो गया होगा, और her brain may not have developed as it should have, या फिर उसका जो brain है वो वैसे develop नहीं हो पाया होगा जैसे उसको होना चाहिए था. It was not possible for the doctors to identify the exact cause. So उसने बताया, उसकी मम्मी ने, कि doctors ने कभी भी हमें exactly नहीं बताया कि क्या हुआ था, what caused your cerebral palsy, but हाँ, it was at the time of your birth or maybe before it that your brain could not develop, or your brain might have injured in my womb only. तो उसकी मम्मी बोलती हैं. So, however, the outcome was that Sarah's brain could not send the right signals to most of her muscles. तो जो सारा का brain था ना, वो सारी muscles को right signal नहीं भेज पाता था. Therefore, they could not move properly, and that included the muscles she would need for talking. तो brain जो stimulus है वो provide नहीं कर पाता था muscles को. उसकी वजह से ना वो चल पाती थी and ना वो बोल पाती थी. Sarah's mother had elaborate का मतलब explained, there are some people with cerebral palsy who can walk quite well. तो वो उसकी मम्मी बताती है, कुछ होते हैं, कुछ लोगों को तेरे जैसी सेम कंडीशन होती है बेटा, जो चल तो लेते हैं, while most दो unclearly can talk to, और कुछ होते हैं जो बात भी कर लेते हैं. फॉर्चुनेट पीपल, सारा सेड टू हरसेल्फ. तो सारा बोल तो पाती नहीं थी, तो सारा अपने आप को ही बोलती है कि यार वो लोग कितने फॉर्चुनेट होंगे जो एटलीस्ट बोल या फिर चल तो पाते होंगे. मॉम, could you again tell me about the time when I was a baby? Sarah was asking her mom now. तो सारा फिर से सिंबल्स के थ्रू ऐसे अपने कुछ भी करके ऐसे करके सिंबल्स के थ्रू अपनी मम्मी से पूछती है कि आप मेरे को फिर से बताओ ना कि जब मैं छोटी बच्ची थी तब क्या हुआ था. Her mother was expecting this request. She kindly nodded and said, compared to other babies, you moved around less, but you were an angel, dear. तो उसकी मम्मी कहती हैं कि और बच्चों की बजाय तो कम चलती थी, बोलती थी, but you were an angel. You came to our lives and you lightened our lives up. And what about the doctor? Sarah asked with symbols. Sarah बोलती है कि and doctor ने क्या कहा? When the doctor informed me that you had cerebral palsy and he discovered you couldn't speak too, he warned me that you would never be able to learn much. तो वो कहती है कि जब मेरे को डॉक्टर ने इन्फॉर्म किया that you would be facing this problem, cerebral palsy, तो डॉक्टर ने कहा था that you would never be able to lead a normal life like other normal kids or normal human beings. Dumb doctor, Sarah wanted to say. तो सारा ने ना अपने दिमाग में सोचा डम डॉक्टर, कितना बेवकूफ डॉक्टर है. बट देयर वाज नो सिंबल फॉर डम इन दैट सेंस. सो यूजिंग द लेटर्स एट द टॉप ऑफ हर बोर्ड, उसने ना ये लिख दिया डम. बी नहीं उसको मिल रहा था, डम लिख दिया उसने. Actually, you know, Sarah, her mother continued, it is easy for anyone to jump to a conclusion that a person who cannot speak isn't very smart. तो उसकी मम्मी कहती है कि बेटा तू सुन, कुछ लोग, मतलब ज्यादातर लोग क्या करते हैं, दे ट्राई टू जंप टू अ कंक्लूजन मतलब कि अगर एक बंदा फिजिकली मतलब एक फिजिकली चैलेंज बंदा है तो वो कुछ भी नहीं कर पाएगा लाइफ में. तो लोग ना अपने आप ही कंक्लूजन निकाल लेते हैं, अपने आप ही डिसाइड कर लेते हैं व्हाट इज राइट फॉर द पर्सन और व्हाट इज रॉन्ग. So, and in reality, there are some cerebrally palsied children who aren't bright, and there are some people who face from this disease, from this impairment, and who aren't bright, who cannot do anything. But of course, you will find some otherwise normal people who aren't very smart either. But कुछ normal लोग भी होते हैं जिनको ये वाली impairment नहीं होती, ये physical problem नहीं होती, जो कि smart नहीं होते, जो कि dumb होते हैं. एंड व्हाट डू यू थिंक अबाउट मी मदर? तो सारा बोलती है कि आपको मैं कैसी लगती हूँ? डू यू फाइंड मी डम टू? सो यू ऑलवेज अपीयर्ड क्वाइट स्मार्ट टू अस बट वी वर अनश्योर ऑफ व्हाट यू कुड डू एंड हाउ. सो उसकी मम्मी कहती है कि तू हमेशा हमें स्मार्ट तो लगती थी बट वी नेवर न्यू अबाउट द लिमिट्स यू कुड रीच. But we were sure of one thing, and that is we didn't want you to be deprived of any opportunity. So उसकी मम्मी कहती हैं that all we knew was that we did not want you to be deprived of any kind of opportunity. We wanted you to do the best in life. And look, mother, Sarah said jubilantly, with my symbols I can say almost anything I want. So उसकी वो बहुत खुश होकर कहती है कि मम्मी देखो अब मैं अपने symbols की वजह से कुछ भी बोल सकती हूँ, ऑलमोस्ट हर चीज बोल सकती हूँ जो मैं चाहती हूँ. येस डियर, द वर्ड्स वर ऑलवेज अलाइव इन योर हेड, इट वाज जस्ट अ मैटर ऑफ फाइंडिंग अ वे टू गेट देम आउट. सो उसकी मम्मी कहती है बेटा हाँ मुझे पता है ये वर्ड्स हमेशा तेरे दिमाग में तेरे दिल में चलते रहते थे, बट यू जस्ट हैड टू फाइंड अ वे in which you would take those words out, in which you would be able to communicate with those words. Now I hope you understood the chapter. See, all I want to say is that if you have some people around who are physically challenged in any sort, please do not discriminate. Please do not let them feel left out. Try to help them, try to understand them, and make them feel friendly, and make them feel that you are around to help them at any time. Let's start with the questionnaire. Which of the following words mean the same as impatiently? Impatiently, uh, excitedly. Which one of the following words is correctly spelled? Tirelessly. Who once started school? A new world opened for her, Sarah. She was introduced to symbols. Sarah could now express her thoughts with the help of symbols. True. What became the Sarah's tool of communication? Symbols. Because symbols did what talking does. Make a sentence of your own on tunnel. When I boarded the Shatabdi Express, it went through a tunnel. Now, how many symbols did the board have? Close to 300. The dash were arranged in different categories. The symbols were arranged. Symbols for people and things were colored yellow. True. Which one? Why was one row left empty in the symbol board? One row was left empty for future use. Who came to Sarah's house to give her some exercise twice a week? Mrs. Brady. Who made a symbol board for Sarah to use at school? Sarah's teacher. Sarah learned that there were other children like her only after Mrs. Brady talked about them. Which symbol did Sarah like the best? At Dash, she often reminisced about how it had been at 12. Sorry. Sarah personally chose symbols from a set of printed symbols. Just a second. Just give me a second. Sarah personally chose the symbols from a set of printed symbol stamps. Even someday, even Sarah Bennett was going to be somebody. Sarah's mother also stuck the pictures of her dash along family members. What was Sarah suffering from, and how it was it caused? Sarah was suffering from a problem called cerebral palsy, and it was caused during or before the time of birth. What were the symbols called, and how did Sarah use them to communicate? The symbols were called Bly symbols, and she used to write them on a board, and her mother or her teacher used to write them on a board in which she would be able to communicate through which. Why didn't Sarah feel challenged to learn the symbols? Because she knew that she could not walk or run or speak, but she could see, so she was always determined. How did Sarah's mother help her? Sarah's mother always encouraged her and determined her to learn better. What message do you get from the story? That if you're around a person who is physically able or physically challenged, do not try to bring them down or discriminate them, but try to help them. Like the mother of Sarah, she was a very helpful person in the whole process, and she never gave up on her child. Describe Sarah's frustration before she started going to school. If you were her friend, what would you have said to her to calm her and make her feel better? So Sarah's frustration before going to school was at its peak because she could not do. She sat every day at the same place doing nothing. She tried to speak words, but the words could not come out of her mouth. But after she went to school, a sense of meaning came into her life, and she was able to communicate by the help of symbols. And if I was her friend, I would help her in every manner. I would try to learn those symbols with her so that I could talk to her and I could communicate with her, and I would always encourage her to do good in life. So I hope you all understood the chapter. I hope you would never try to bring any specially abled person down in their lives, or any other person for that matter. And I hope you got the chapter. Thank you so much. Goodbye. Happy learning.